and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm checking in from the Maldives. I'm still here, but this time I am at the Niyama resort. This is the second stop that Xana and I have on our epic 5-week journey. We flew from our last resort back to the capital and then we got here yesterday afternoon. It is beautiful. We have 4 days here to explore the island. It's actually 2 islands that are joined together with a long bridge. There's an underwater restaurant, there's jet skis, there's scuba diving, there's surfing, there's so many different restaurants, there's a gym, there's yoga, there's so much to do. There's also an initiative here to help regrow coral through coral gardening, so we're gonna have a little look at that tomorrow. But yeah, I'm really excited. We're gonna start today by going to the gym, having some breakfast, and then we have a turtle excursion where we're going to go and snorkel and hopefully see some turtles. Let's go! This is a stereotypical Steph holiday breakfast, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I've gone for coconut rice, a lentil dal with mango chutney, a tomato, marinated mushrooms, and then sautéed veggies topped with flaxseed. I'm a freak.
Nice.
And then we have a soy milk cappuccino. So talk to me, why did we get so excited about flaxseed? Pardon? I'll wait. Yes, yes, do the breakfast dance, do the breakfast dance, do the breakfast dance, do the breakfast dance, we're in paradise, we're in paradise, shake your tits, it's Sunday.
Right, it's not moving. I'm very excited to have flaxseed because we need that to tick off our daily dozen of plant-based ingredients which give us all of our vital nutrients, and flaxseed provide our omegas. So having flaxseed in 1 meal a day, great for you plant-based humans.
That's right. We're obsessed with the Daily Dozen app, aren't we? We love it. And then my second breakfast is mixed fruit. I have some granola and some muesli, almonds, cacao nibs, and some soy milk. Ooh, where are we going?
To see the turtles!
That's right, we're gonna go see some turtles. So just checking in after the amazing turtle quest. We were on the boat and then we got dropped off in a little lagoon area. We saw dolphins, we saw so many groups of dolphins, baby ones, adult ones jumping out of the water. It was insane. We also saw 2 turtles, loads of fish, but the only thing that is so sad about here, and I mentioned this in my last video too, is that all the coral is dead. There is no living coral, and coral is supposed to be colourful and vibrant and multicoloured, and it's literally grey powder covered in algae and dead. So that's a little bit sad, but it just kind of solidifies my reasons for going vegan and stuff and trying to make as much of a change as I can. But now we're going to go for a little cycle around the island and then go see what the lunch buffet is saying. We're going to have quite a chilled afternoon, I think, and then there's an amazing restaurant that we're going to later. It's the dream. Hey Trev.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good, good. You know, just getting on with life back in the UK.
You missing me?
A little bit. I'm jealous.
Oh, you go so awkward in front of a camera, even when it's not.
Yeah, I know.
In real life.
It doesn't matter from there or here. I'm always going to be awkward, but you know.
Okay, I'll stop recording now.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. So, where do I begin? The content that you last saw from Niama was filmed 2 weeks ago. That was sadly the last day that we were there. We were supposed to be there for 3 days, but a lot has happened since then. So about an hour after that last video was shot, Zana called me into the villa in agonising pain. We had no idea what it was, so we called the hotel doctor to our room to try and solve it. 2 hours passed by and she was still screaming out to the point where she was screaming, "Steph, help me," and it was one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever had to witness. I'm gonna have to just summarise this because if I talk about it too in depth I will probably cry. We then got a boat to the local island, which was luckily about 15-20 minutes away from where we were, and we went to the local hospital where Zana was put on a drip. She was put through tests and scans. They still could not find out what was causing all the pain. We stayed overnight. Luckily she managed to get a bit of sleep. I, hand on heart, thought that she was just gonna have a big old poo and then she would be fine. So I was constantly reassuring her and I was like, "You're gonna be fine, give it a couple of hours or the medication will kick in and then we will be flying back to the island, enjoy our last few days and then fly to the Philippines." I don't know if you've seen my last video, but we were supposed to be traveling for around 5.5 weeks all around the world. So that didn't actually happen, but I will get onto that in a moment. So we flew back to the resort and the hospital recommended that we flew to the mainland of Malé, which is the capital of the Maldives. So we flew to the mainland, got to ADK hospital in Malé. It was a local hospital. We were kind of the only tourists that I kind of saw around. We had an amazing representative with us from Niama Resort. They have been amazing throughout all of this process. So they gave us this representative called Bond. He was amazing. He basically was the middleman between us and the doctors because they kind of served all of the locals first and then the tourists. So he made our process a lot easier and a lot faster. Zana was getting passed from room to room, to doctor, to test, to scan, to drip, to tablets, everything. She was bent over in pain. They kept poking her and prodding her, which was making the pain worse. And at this point I hadn't slept at all. There was a few moments when they were like, "You can go back to the hotel, get some rest and come back," but there was not a chance that I was leaving Zana by herself. I can't explain it, but it was the scariest thing. I've never seen anyone in pain like that. There was a moment when she finally got to sleep and I was just so worried about her because no one knew what was going on. We were in a foreign country that we didn't know, with no one that we knew even close. I had no Wi-Fi on my phone, I had no data, I couldn't get in contact with anyone and I felt so helpless that I just kept crying, and obviously in that situation you have to be strong for your friend, and I didn't ever want her to see me cry, because every time she saw me I was smiling and being like, oh, you're gonna be fine, like it'll pass, because I wanted to keep her confident. Anyway, she woke up and oh my god, my face was puffy and red, there was a snot bubble, I was just a mess. She was like, are you crying? And I was like no. It was at that moment when I realised how serious it was. We got taken to a private room and we were admitted to the hospital overnight. So we had to wait for the scan results until the next morning. They came back and they were like, yeah, we think everything's going to be okay. We're going to go through the scans with a fine tooth comb now, and then we'll let you know. Next thing you know, about an hour later, then this woman came in and she started braiding Xana's hair and shaving her stomach, and we were a bit confused, and she was like, yeah, you're going into surgery in half an hour. And I was like, sorry, what? Surgery? Like, no one's told us this, and it literally came from nowhere. So we didn't really have time to adjust to the fact that she was going to be operated on. So long story short, part of her bowel had twisted inside her. We don't know how, we don't know why, but it had twisted one whole time and a half. So she had like a double twisted bowel. So next thing you know, she gets put onto this stretcher bed and carried away from the room. I follow her down with the rep Bond, who was looking after us, and then she gets wheeled into this little room with like yellow tape in front of it, and then the doors start closing and I'm like, okay, I'll see you in a minute, thinking she's getting prepped for surgery. No, that was not the case. She was going into surgery. No one had told me this, no one had explained what the procedure was. I had no idea what was going on, and then I was left alone in Marley by myself, not having a bloody clue what to do. I was constantly on the phone to my parents, to Xana's parents, to Xana's boyfriend, trying to update them with as much as I could, but I literally knew nothing. That was the last time I saw her. I remember so clearly, I literally just waved to her, I was like, bye, see you in a minute, being really like happy and strong, whatever. Then the doors closing, and that was the last time I saw her before surgery. And I just broke down. I had no idea what was going on. The surgeon then called me into a little room and explained the procedure. He said, if all goes well, we'll open her up, we'll untwist her, sew her back up, and she'll be good. Worst case scenario is she will have some of her bowel removed. We will try and stitch it back together, but if that's not possible, we'll have to bring both parts to the skin and attach a colostomy bag or a stoma bag, I can't remember what it's called, and she will have that bag for 3 months until we reoperate on her. But if that's not possible, then she will have that bag for life. And I was like, what? In the room I was like, okay, great, thank you. Anyway, so I came out and I just broke down, because I was like, one, Xana has been briefed by herself with no one there to like calm her. Two, I don't want it to be the worst case scenario, because Xana's one of the most active, inspiring females I know, and I know obviously she could still do that with a bag, but it would restrict her somewhat to doing what she wants to do. So I was freaking the hell out. She was in the operating theatre for 3.5 hours. I was taken back to a hotel to like rest and to shower and stuff, which I couldn't do because I was too stressed. I was on FaceTime to my mum, crying my eyes out. She was crying her eyes out, and I just knew nothing for 3.5 hours until I was taken back to the hospital. This is probably my favourite moment out of this whole situation. I was sat in her hospital room waiting for her, and she was in another room kind of coming around from the anaesthetic and things like that. She got wheeled back into the room and I just saw her little head, and straight away I just looked at her and I just burst out crying, and she just waved and went, hi. And basically, oh, I'm getting teary. Okay, I'm fine. I'm fine. The procedure went the best possible way it could have done, because she's so healthy, she's so fit, she's so active, she has a very healthy gut. They managed to untwist it. I've actually seen a video of it and it was so freaking cool. They like pulled everything out of her and like untwisted it with like, there was like 4 pairs of hands passing it to each other, and it was huge and so swollen, like no wonder she was in pain. They untwisted it, and as soon as they did, whatever was cut off, straight away blood flew to it, I don't know, but it went back to its original colour, original state, so they literally could put it back inside her, stitch her up, and it was good to go, so she didn't need a stoma bag. It was the best possible outcome, but then we had to stay in the hospital for 2 days. Her boyfriend Ant is a saint. He is actually amazing. He flew out the moment he found out that she was going to be operated on, so he arrived the morning after surgery. He then stayed with her that night in hospital so that I could stay in the hotel and get some sleep. At this point I hadn't slept, I hadn't eaten. I was so worried about her because Xana's so brave. Like the whole time she was so brave and so inspiring. She's just amazing. Why am I crying? And fuck. Sorry, Mum. Throughout the whole thing she was so positive, except from when she was going into the theatre. This is when we were first told she was being operated on. She turned to me and she said, Steph, I'm so sorry about our trip. And I was like, oh my god, it's not about our trip at all. It's about you being healthy. I'm a mess. And you getting better. And then she just looked at me, and not once had she ever said this, but she just looked at me and went, "I'm scared." And I had to smile and be like, "Oh, you're going to be fine. You're going to be absolutely fine. They do this all the time. You're going to come out and be the same Xana that you were before." But I had no idea if I was lying or not. I didn't know what the operation involved. I didn't know if she was going to be okay, and I was terrified too, but I couldn't let her know that. Wow. And anyway, she luckily recovered so quickly, and it was back to the old Xana that I'd spent the whole week before that with. She was in a lot less pain. Obviously she'd just been cut open, so she still had pain. But she was bubbly again, she had her personality back, she was having banter with the nurses and the doctors. So we stayed in the hospital. She then moved into another private room for about a week, I think, in total. And every day she was getting better and better. And again, throughout it all, she was so positive and so inspiring, and I was in awe of her. Like, if the roles were reversed, I don't know how I would have coped with that. There was one day when Ant and I thought she was well enough for us to just escape for a second and bring her a little surprise. I just have to give you the surprise now because it might melt, but we got you some sorbet, mango and passion fruit. Yay, sugar! Woo! There you go, babes. Thank you. Enjoy! How exciting! We'll let you eat that and then show you the rest of the goodies we got you.
I can see through the bag that there's chocolate.
Bam, bam. Okay, these are the other treats. Ooh. We'll let you unbag them. Dark chocolate to dip in your peanut butter.
Yay! This is sugar central and I can't wait.
It's not all for today if you don't want it to be.
Peanut butter chocolate Oreos.
Yeah.
Double stuff Oreos.
Yeah.
Strawberry cream Oreos.
Yep.
Peppermint tea.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm most excited about this, guys. I'm most excited about this. I've been dying for peppermint tea. We got more apple juice.
Yes.
Bloody love apple juice.
You've been living off of it.
Very happy.
Yay! Enjoy! We played Monopoly, we played Scrabble, we played card games. We thought of everything possible to entertain her. And it worked really nicely because there were certain things that Ant could do that I couldn't. For example, showering her, and there were certain things that I could do that Ant couldn't, so we became this dream team, and that's kind of what we called ourselves. She was then discharged from hospital. She had a few checkups, she had her stitches out, but then we moved and we had this little hotel right on the beach. It must have been about 3 or 4 days where every day she could get up, walk, go dip her feet in the ocean. And again, another thing that made me super emotional was she'd been locked up in this little tiny room for days and days and days, hadn't seen the outside world, and as soon as we got to the hotel, she walked straight down to the beach, put her feet in the ocean, and I just burst out crying. She looked so happy to be in the fresh air again, and to kind of know that it was all over. It was just now like the recovery process. And then we all flew back. We landed Friday night, so about 3 days ago, and she's on the mend. I think the doctor said it's going to be about a 3-month recovery process. It was probably one of the most terrifying and emotional experiences of my life. But one thing that it has taught me is, one, you can't take life for granted. You can't just think you're this healthy and fit, indestructible human. Things can happen out of the blue, out of nowhere. I know for a fact, I know Xana was the one going through it, but if she wasn't positive through that, there's no way that I would have been able to stay positive, and I think it works both ways. The whole time Xana has looked for positives, and I've tried to as well, and I think out of this whole experience, the best thing that's happened is obviously the surgery went well, but Xana and I are closer than ever, and she's more like a sister than a friend now, and I've said that so many times on Instagram, but she is literally family now. Like, I treasure that girl in my life more than I will ever know, like more than anyone will ever know. She is so special to me, and I always knew that, but this situation, the fact that there was this tiniest little chance I could have potentially lost that, has taught me how important friendships are. And it's taught me that you should tell people in your life that you care about them all the time. You should message them out of the blue and just say you're thinking about them. If you've not spoken in a couple of weeks, it takes 2 seconds to send a message. You never know what's going to happen to that person. I don't think you can ever tell someone that you love them too much. I really, really don't. And I'm tearing up again because I'm a hot mess. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to update the situation about what happened and why our trip had been cut short. I'm so happy to be home and that she's safe. But yeah, I just thought I'd share a little update. That's all I gotta say. because I'll cry some more and I don't want to. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Lots of love. Bye.